Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having us, brother.
No problem. How are you doing the whole pandemic?
Man, I'm just making the best of everything, you know? That's the best thing that I can say, just making the best of everything.
So you guys had the project done before COVID-19, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
When did you guys officially meet?
We officially met, I want to say, December 2018. I basically got a call from my boy Sean, who does some managerial stuff for me, but really he's just a friend of mine that looks out for me. And he was real cool, or is real cool rather, with a keyboardist by the name of Borum Lee, who was doing a show at the Blue Note, which is a legendary jazz club.
Jazz cafe, yeah.
Yeah, in the city. Everybody's performed there. And Borum, Daru, Nate Edgar, and a friend of mine named Chauncey Yearwood were also, they were performing as a collective, doing I don't want to say tribute because I know Daru doesn't like that word, but a salute to J Dilla and DJ Premier, just as an ensemble performing, not really their hits, but more like their classic B-sides. But they were also looking to bring some MCs on stage. So they were doing 2 nights there, and it was kind of last minute. Like, my friend Sean called me and he's like, look, you definitely should check out this show that my boy's doing at the Blue Note, and they want some MCs to get on stage. If you want to go on and rhyme, they said you could come through. So I was like, yeah, no doubt. So they were actually doing a rehearsal at I think it was Borum's crib in Long Island City, and I remember pulling up to the rehearsal, and it was all them in a room together, and I was kind of nervous because I knew Chauncey. I never met Daru. I might have met Borum in passing before that, but I was pretty much walking into a room where I didn't really know anybody like that, and I knew I was gonna have to, basically rap for everybody, like a borderline audition, while at the same time, you know what I mean, like a borderline audition while at the same time doing a rehearsal, because they were gonna get on stage in like 2 hours from the point that I met them. So
I forgot about that. I forgot we rehearsed right before the show, which is bugged out.
Yeah, so I just walked into the room, and like, I think everything I had been doing up until that point kind of prepared me for that moment, because, they would play something like J. Rue the Damage and me and the Papes, and they'd be like, what do you have for this? And I just started rhyming. Like, I literally just go, like, my whole Rolodex of rhymes I had in my head, I started saying, and it sounded good. And
it was perfect. It was perfect. Perfect. I don't know if they were pre-recorded rhymes, but they flow really great over the tracks that we presented. Perfect.
Yeah, man.
Definitely.
And then literally, from the rehearsal, like I said, like 2 hours later, we were on stage. So, we did 2 nights of that. And I think the second night of shows, I drove Daru home to the spot he was staying at in Brooklyn. And, we were just like, yo, let's make some music together. Daru's like just a very accomplished musician. He's running around all the time. So I kind of said it, almost not expecting him to follow through on it. It's just like, it's almost like a pleasantry at this point. Like, you meet a fellow artist, you say, yo, let's exchange our numbers. Let's work together. Whether or not that person actually follows through on it, like 9 times out of 10, in my experience, that doesn't happen. But I remember literally I got a call from him one day, and he's like, yo, I'm going to be in New York next week. I have a studio rented out. Let's work on something. And I was like, okay, let's do it. You know what I mean? Like, I had no idea, where that was going to go, but it just clicked, man. It's like, certain people you meet, for all the accolades that Daru has and as accomplished of a musician as he is, like, you would never know it just when you talk to him, because he's such a down to earth guy. You know what I'm saying? Like, I met him.
Appreciate it, like yourself.
Exactly. Like, I just, there's certain people you meet in 1 night or 2 nights, you just like, this person just click. It's just right. And, there was no BS. There was no like egos or anything involved. Like, you could just tell he loves the music, and and wants to make, great music. And I'm the same way. So we promised we were going to work together, and that's pretty much what happened, man. Like, he booked the studio session, I showed up.
Yeah, I want to shout out the engineer Kayo. You know what I'm saying? It's funny, I had just met him on. So Kayo, I forgot what country he's from, but he's from overseas. He lives in New York right now, residing. And I saw him engineer. It's a venue called New Blue. It's in the Lower East Side, and every Monday they have this thing, Producers Mondays. And a good friend of mine organized that. His name is Ray Angry. Plays
Shout
keyboards.
out to Ray Angry.
Shout out to my homie Ray Angry. You know what I'm saying? And I never forget that night I met Kayo. You know what I'm saying? I met Kayo, and he was an engineer at New Blue. And I never forget. It was dope. We just had a good vibe, and I was like, "Yo, I got this cat that I'm working with. You know what I'm saying? Can you get us in the studio for a couple hours?" And I think later that same day I had another session with another artist. I almost mentioned him, but almost another project that I'm working with. But yeah, it was a blessing. Kaya was just so dope. I'll never forget. We had did a performance. I think during that run we had a performance at New Blue as well, and Kaya recorded the whole live show. And the following day he sent us a mix, and it sounded like a CD quality. I was like, "Yo, this dude is ill." You know what I'm saying? And then it was just like, "Yo, can we?" He gave me and Bobby 2 studios that it worked out of. And me and Bobby, we like the vibe of a pinch recording studio because of the way that, when you go to the website, they had a really cool, backdrop. And I was like, "Yo, that's a spot." We got there, we tracked, and at the same time, when we performed at the Blue Note, Bobby has his entourage or his team, the people that he work with, the guy that what's the man that did the filming for us?
Matthias.
Shout out to Matthias.
Matthias at iFilm NY if you want to check him out on Instagram.
Yeah, so this is I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, not to interject. Matthias is he's from Germany originally. He hosts a radio show out there. Just a hip hop show. He's a hip hop head. He's lived in Brooklyn for a couple of years, and he's done a lot of documentary work for a bunch of different people, but he's worked just documenting behind the scenes stuff for a couple different artists, and he kind of took a liking to me and started following me around to certain key shows that I was doing over the past 2 years or so. So I would do a show like Brooklyn Bowl. He would come, he would film it. I would do a little hole in the wall spot. He would come and film it. And when I told him that I was going to work with Daru, he was super excited. And he was like, "Just let me know whenever you're going to do the studio session. I'd love to come film the behind the scenes." Mm-hmm. And I let him know when he showed up, and he pretty much got everything that we did, in that little window of time, on camera. And,
so basically, so there was 2 sessions. So the first session that we did, it was just me and Bobby. And Bobby, he's not only a dope lyricist, this cat also can do editing and filming. You know what I'm saying? Did you go to SUNY College or something like that? Where'd you get that skill set from?
I went to New York Film Academy for 3 months, but it wasn't it wasn't a full tenure. I didn't go there and full on study. I did a short filmmaking course, but they taught me a little bit. I was already making videos before I even went there. I wanted to kind of expand on my skill set, but for the most part, everything I've done has been out of necessity and self-taught. So it was I couldn't find anybody to do affordable videos, so I bought a camera and started doing them myself. You know what I mean?
So it's bugged out because Bobby's like, "Yo, we're going to document this video," and I'm like, "Who's going to shoot it?" And he was like, "I am." So Bobby had his camera, he had all the angles, and we did 2 studios. So basically, we just did a try run. We wanted to come and do 2 songs. One of the songs we ended up, this is all on the spot. We just basically, we wanted to pay tribute definitely to the origins of hip hop. One part of it, you know what I'm saying? Because we know there's a lot of different frequencies on how hip hop got to where it's at, even from the beginning. But this part of hip hop is where it was basically where the DJ would play breaks, the MC would rap. So I forgot how we came up with Flow Like This. I don't know if I was if we heard something and I started playing the beat, but Bobby, he just "Yo, I was just sound checking. And Bobby was like, "Yo, I got some lyrics to that." And that ended up being the first joint. It was called Flow Like This. Then the second track that we did we call it a Gangstar salute, and it's a tribute to one of my favorite songs off of Daily Operation, Take It Personal. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And just the way Premier crafted that beat, I was like, it would be dope. And the crazy thing is, the place that I was staying, a good friend of mine, Gabriella Riley, she's an amazing vocalist. You know what I'm saying? I think she's originally from Brazil, and she was bringing me the keys to the spot where I was going to be crashing at, right? And she just stuck around.
Yeah.
She stuck around, and I was like, yo, why don't you turn your vocal to like an instrument and just do it? This all happened organically.
It just fell into place, man. Like that's what was so dope about this. And I feel like, you know, people got to understand the context of this project before they listen to it, because you know, people got to understand like what we're going for here. You know, this was something we went into the studio with no idea where we were going to end up. You know what I'm saying? Like, we literally were like, we had no, I knew that working with Daru and the type of stuff that inspires me, I was like, look, I want this to be almost like a jam session, you know, caught on tape. You know what I'm saying? Where it's like, if it's just a drummer and it's just me and a drummer, let's make it sound like that. Let's make it sound like we're performing it in front of you. You know what I mean?
Exactly,
like,
exactly.
No bells and whistles, no extra musicians. Like, he's gonna sit in there, he's gonna come up with his own break beats, and then it's almost like he's passing the ball to me, and I'm gonna have to, you know, come up with something to go over it. And the thing that was so dope about it is Kayo, as an engineer, and I'm glad you brought him up, Daru, he understood that from an engineering perspective, because I told him, I was like, yo, I don't want you to over compress these vocals. I don't want you to add any crazy effects. Like, I want this to sound sonically as close to a live performance as it possibly can. You know what I'm saying? Like, he did
with the hip hop, but with the hip hop overtone, like when you hear breaks, because it's a challenge. Not to cut you off, Bobby, but it's a challenge for engineers to mix organic live drums like breaks, because of when those guys recorded those tracks. Like, say for instance, like Clyde Stubblefield, rest in peace, Clyde, he played with James Brown. Like, that stuff was recorded in an era where sometimes they just had a couple microphones, if I'm not mistaken. And that room sound, what they got was just so dope. Yeah. And I was just I was like, yo, we know that you're micing everything up, but we still wanted to sound like a break. So big shout out to Kayo for giving us the sound where it actually sounds like these could have came from breaks from albums.
Exactly.
So yeah, just to coincide with what you were saying. And just to piggyback too, so we went in to do the first 2 tracks. We put the studio videos out, and we got a lot of good response. And I was just like, yo, we need to make this a full album. And I was like, let me let you know when I'm coming back in town. Let Bobby know when I was coming back in town. And we just scheduled one more day, and we knocked out the rest of the project, which it ended up becoming 18 tracks in total. And basically, this would be like talking breaks. That was inspired off of, like, shout out to Pete Rock, who's one of my favorite producers. I actually played with Pete Rock, but when you listen to Pete Rock and CL Smooth albums, they would have these interludes in between every song. And sometimes the interludes would be almost better than the track. I was just like, yo, it'd be dope if we could just make the breaks the interlude and we just talk. You know what I'm saying? Like, do like little commercials. Because I missed that era. You know, I remember in the 90s, everybody had skits on their projects. You know what I'm saying? When you got Wu-Tang Clan's record or NWA, or the skits is what make the albums. I was like, yo, let's take it back. We'll make our own little skit to set up the next joint. And that's pretty much what happened. So that last session we did, we cut all the remainder of the interludes and the tracks in that day. And some of the songs that we did, I was like, yo, I like this thing from George Clinton record, or Bobby had a tune that he had already did, and he was like, let's make something like this. And then some of the stuff we just sound checking, and Bobby was like, yo, I got lyrics to that, and that became a song.
Yeah, man. Like, and just to add to what Daru was saying, like, it was literally like hot potato. You know what I'm saying? Like, I would say, why don't you make something with like this kind of energy? And he would sit there, you know, he would come up with something, you know, he would lay it down in 1 or 2 takes, and then it would basically be like, all right, your turn. You know what I mean? Like, what are you gonna do with it? And it was like I've said to you, Daru, before. It was like the easiest / hardest project I ever had to make, because I felt like you kept me on my toes the entire time while we were doing it. But, you know, everything just happened so quickly. It's like, you know, he would lay something down. You know, I would get in the booth. I would try my best to get something out in 1 or 2 takes. And then, you know, Kyle would do a rough mix, and then we go right to the next track. So, you know, it's literally like, it was literally like us just, you know, like I said, a jam session. You know what I'm saying?
Now that I can remember, your time was limited because you had something else you had to go to. So we literally had to cut the session. Like, we literally only had time to do what we did in that one session. You had a birthday party, something that you was going to afterwards?
I think it was my birthday. I think the second session we did, I'm trying to remember the timeline.
I think it was your birthday. Yeah, it was. I think it was your birthday.
And it was and side note, I walk in there, it's my birthday, and my girl's got something planned for me, right?
That's what it was.
I'm on like a time constraint, and I walk in, and the first person I see when I walk into the studio is Pharoah Monch. And I'm like,
that's why I had the session with Pharoah.
And I'm like, what? You know what I mean? Like, and I'm trying to play it cool, but I was like, what's up, man? And you know, Daru comes out. He's like, oh, it's your birthday, right? And Pharoah Monch wished me a happy birthday. And it's like, this is weird. You know what I mean? So that was crazy. But yeah, man, it's just, again, like I like to say the real inspiration behind this project is just, you know, I think a lot of modern music is very overproduced. You know, whether you're talking about pop music, hip hop music, R&B, whatever it is, like, you get the right engineer in there, you know, you can make someone who can't sing sound like they could sing. You can make somebody who's offbeat sound like they're on beat.
And it's not genuine either.
It's not genuine, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can punch in as many times as you want, and it's I wanted the performances, at least my vocal performances on this album, and of course what Daru did with the drums, to be something that sounds like we could duplicate it live in front of you. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's perfections in the imperfections. You know, there's definitely lines where it sounds like I might be almost running out of breath. You know what I'm saying? But that's okay, because that's what it sounds like when somebody's rapping. You know what I mean?
Live.
And you don't really hear that on record. Everything is so perfect.
Polished.
You're getting the most polished, perfect take. And you know, I just, when I think of the classic records I listen to, you know, whether it's like a Billie Holiday song or MC Shan or some shit that Marley produced back in the day, like, there's those little idiosyncrasies and imperfections that add character and flavor to the music. And I think that's really like the essence of what we were trying to find with this project. You know what I mean?
I know Max was like, yo, can I get a question in?
Yeah, I know.
Max, we took this and ran with it.
I know. It's very interesting. And I want to ask you, Daru, how do you feel as Bobby J as an MC? What do you think about him?
Yo, he's
whack.
Bobby's.
He's trash.
Nah. Bobby's one of the sharpest out there. One of the sharpest dudes out there in the game today. You know what I'm saying? I was very impressed when we did the show at the Blue Note. Like, when he came to the rehearsal, he wasn't intimidated. He put his best. He came in there like we had already been knowing, and we had been practicing for years. So he stood up to the plate. That's what really impressed me. And then when we got to, you know, when we performed live, like I said on a documentary, Bobby, he's like a musician on a microphone. Like, he complimented what we were doing. When we went low with the dynamics, he went low, and he's been doing this. You can just tell with the wordplay, he was very confident. And I think it's a challenge for somebody to not work together and have lyrics to bring something and match it with beats that he's never done. Like, that takes a special person to do that. So that was Bobby's challenge, and he came with it. You know what I'm saying? The music that we did didn't intimidate him. He didn't have a lot of time to figure out if it was going to work. He made it work. He made his lyrics flow, and that was very impressive to me. Very impressive. So Bobby's definitely one of the best out there. You know what I'm saying? Dude, and he's been doing this for a while too. He's worked with Kwame and some of the best of them. So check him out. He not a new. He's been doing this thing for a minute. Yep.
Hey man, likewise, man.
Breath of fresh air.
Definitely.
You know, I don't even know what to say to that. You know, this is somebody who's worked with everyone from Jack White to Nas to Gloria Gaynor, man. So I'm just happy for the opportunity, man. Honestly, you know what I mean?
Like they say, real recognize real. You know what I'm saying? So it was just that's why we here today. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
What else you got, Max?
Daru, what was your reaction when you heard Bobby J's verse on Lullaby, him flipping Big L's 98 freestyle?
Yo, it was bugged out because when we were in the studio, sometimes Bobby would rap me his whole verse, and I would have to figure out what to play on top of what he's doing. You know what I'm saying? Which was my challenge. Like, I think Lullaby might have been that track that he freestyled, and I was like, dang, it's so hard body. Like, what am I gotta come with something, and I just thought of something that matched it. Yeah, it was very impressive when you dissect Bobby's his lines. Very, very crafty. You know what I'm saying? And what I like about it, it's not corny. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like it fits, and he also pays respect to the people that came before him, which is very important, because that's the whole vibe of this project. We wanted to introduce, because you have the new school cast that they don't even know nothing about breaks.
No,
they just know about the tracks.
They don't care to know about it.
So it was very important for us to kind of anchor this project, to kind of pass the baton and let people know this is still here, and hopefully we did the job. You know what I'm saying? Time will tell. Yep.
Bobby J, what made you choose to flip that line, Big L's 98 freestyle? What made you choose that verse out of every hip hop verse in history?
You know what? I really don't know if I have like a clear answer for that. I just remember writing the song and it just kind of turned out that way. Like usually when I record, the hardest, like I don't physically write the lyrics down anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm more or less get the lines out as they come to me. So usually the first line is the hardest one. And once I get that out, it's kind of like, all right, let me take myself on this journey and see where it goes. And I just remember, how's the verse start off? It goes, first of all, I'm all about command and respect. See, I'm from Queens, but never was a fan of the Mets. And that's kind of a true line. You know what I'm saying? Like I have friends that are Mets fans. I never really cared about baseball, so it just went there. And I was like, and I'm all about expanding my checks. Like it just, the way it connected, I knew that I could make it parallel to what L was saying, and that the real heads who listened to him growing up the way I did, they would recognize that, and they would understand that was an allusion to that verse. You know what I'm saying? Like, and at the same time, the younger people that aren't familiar with him, they could listen to that, think it's dope, and maybe they'll discover that verse, or they'll be listening to Big L one day and be like, wait, like Bobby said something similar to this. So a lot of times, like I'll put Easter eggs or like pepper references to stuff that I grew up on, whether it's music or movies or TV or whatever. I like to give people a taste of like what my interests are in my music. You know what I'm saying? And I try not to make it so blatantly obvious. Like I try to make it subtle enough so that the people in the know. Some people it's going to fly over their heads. Some people it's going to register on the 10th or 100th listen. You know what I'm saying? Like, to me, that's what makes something great, is when you can go back and listen to it and discover something that you never noticed on the first go around. You know what I'm saying? Like there's, if you listen to a great hip hop record, you listen to a great record in general, there's layers to stuff. And, I always want people to be hearing new things when they put on the music. So, I'm glad that you realize that. But I'm sure there's some people that are around your age or younger that never even heard those rhymes before. Wouldn't even know that is an allusion to that. So salute to you for even doing your research and knowing where that's from.
I'm not listening to that garbage out there. You can't even make it out. you know that already.
Dang,
there's such a disconnect between the younger audience nowadays and what they're listening to when you turn on the radio in that car. When I hear it, I can't turn it off fast enough. But how come there aren't a lot of people out there, artists, who aren't interested in what you guys did, put a project like this that pays homage to all the pioneers that came before them? And Daru, you could chime in on this as well. This is more of a question geared towards you because you've been in the game for a long time.
Can you say that question one more time?
How come there's no one in the younger audience that has done what you've done? Making an album or a project is what you call this, basically paying homage to pioneers that came before them.
That's a good question. I mean, maybe somebody did it and we haven't heard about it. So kudos, but I just think that right now we living in a climate where it's just the people, they see what you do. Everybody just kind of copying off what they see, what works for one person. They see what people are getting paid from, and that's what people are doing. It's like nobody's really. It's some people are, as far as a young up and coming generation. I think we had to be that example. You know what I'm saying? To show people how they did it back in the days. Like them cats, they went deep inside for concepts. You know what I'm saying? Because everybody wanted to be original.
Yep.
Because if you were caught biting on any level, you got approached. You know what I'm saying? And that was from fashion, the way you sound. And so, like I said, I just think that right now everybody's kind of, especially with the pandemic, nobody's performing live. You know what I'm saying? So everybody's trying to find ways to be creative, but they also, a lot of people, they're not going within to see if they can find something organic. They just seeing what works for this person. Oh, you a live DJ? Let me put my cash app and let me just, you know what I'm saying? They may not even be nice. You know what I'm saying? But they just see that works for the other person. So I think that's a problem. I just think if you are inspired by what somebody else do, just see how you can take what they done and flip it and make it your own. You know what I'm saying? So I just think that, you know, hopefully that answers your question. I just think that's the reason everybody's just trying to keep their lights on at this point. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
I think you know, just to add to what Daru's saying, like when you look at artists that came out in the 90s or the 80s, or even fans of that era, like as a little kid, I was buying the albums and reading the liner notes. So I was looking at, I love this song sampled this song, and then I would go check out the source material. So I was building a foundation for myself. And then, you know, when you think about the artists and the producers that existed in that time period, they had to have a strong foundation themselves because they're sampling records that are 30 years before them, you know, 40 years before them. So, you know, you're talking about producers that were digging in the crates and, you know, sourcing vinyl. You know what I'm saying? It's not like today where, I mean, you can't listen to every new record that came out last Friday, you know, if you had all the time in the world. So it's like young kids are bombarded with an insane amount of music. I don't think that
it's quantity over quality.
Yeah, I don't think the importance of going back in time and understanding the foundation of the music you like is really stressed on them.
Yeah.
It's more or less, you know, this is right now, this is what I'm interested in. You know, if I'm trying to be an artist myself, I'm looking at the other people that are popping and I'm trying to either emulate or build on what they're doing. So there's a serious disconnect just in the digital streaming age that I feel, you know, died when people stopped purchasing physical, you know, copies of records. You know what I'm saying? Because half of the fun for me was buying an album from an artist I liked and, you know, wanting to know who produced it, wanting to know what it sampled, wanting to know where it was recorded, who engineered it. You know, that type of thing is a relic of the past. You know what I mean? Like you really have to dig to even know any of that stuff now. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't know who produces these new records, like unless you Google it, you know, but people are too lazy to do that. So for us, you know, again, like just to circle back to this project, I think this is something that's needed. You know, this is for the heads, this is for the DJs, this is for the producers, the people
a reminder.
Yeah, a reminder of, you know, what hip hop should be sounding like. And again, you know, this is our gift, man. Like we want people to take this record and chop it up and sample it. And
yeah, not to cut you off, Bobby, just to add into that, something else to add. So I want to shout out our brother, Breakbeat Lou. You hip to Breakbeat Lou?
No, I'm not.
Oh man, see.
Oh my God, that's an issue.
I gotta learn on it. I gotta learn about it.
So Breakbeat is one of the, and I hope I'm getting the story right, Bob. You can interject if I'm getting it wrong. Matter of fact, you can tell Breakbeat Lou's story if you want to, just so you know that we.
So I could be mistaken, but Breakbeat Lou, and he also had a partner. and he passed away, and I'm forgetting his name, so I'm sorry about that I'm not remembering his name off the top of the head. But prior to Breakbeat Lou, producers used to have to source whatever sample they were looking for from the actual record store. If they wanted to sample James Brown, they had to go buy a James Brown album. You know what I'm saying? But Breakbeat Lou, what him and his partner did that was so monumental was they assembled pretty much like all the great samples that were being used in hip hop at the time and put them on one record, so that anybody, like if you were looking for like Impeach the President or the Amen break or the Skull Snaps or whatever, you didn't have to go and physically find that album. You could just buy ultimate breaks and beats and all the necessary, like literally like the survival kit of samples was on this vinyl. So he really changed the game because he put all the necessary drum loops on one vinyl for all the producers to sample. So once that happened, it was like a free for all. You know what I'm saying? And
so basically, to make the long story short, why I want to talk about Breakbeat Lou is because how many times can somebody sample Impeach the President drums? You heard that and the funky drummer. You know what I'm saying? You hear that break on everything. So what we did was, because I think that's another reason why people may not have approached doing a record like this, because it's like, yo, how many times can we hear these breaks that's already been out, you know what I'm saying, be recycled and done again? So that might be a reason why people haven't done it. But so with this record, it's like, okay, how can we make our own breaks live and also pay tribute to like Dilla, J Dilla, you know, the producer from Detroit Michigan that passed away. He had a certain swag on his drums, you know what I'm saying? So although the way that he produces his patterns were a tribute to like Bernard Purdy, the way that they played, sometimes they made a mistake on the recordings and they just left them, they didn't fix it. But Dilla took it further and he made this glitchy type of, you know what I'm saying, stuttered, you know what I'm saying? So that's what made hopefully what's making our project different from just sampling Impeach the President drums. I made my own breaks. So now I'm making a whole new category of breaks. When we come out with the instrumentals, hopefully people will sample that, and then that will become like the new, you know what I'm saying, funky drummer, or you know what I'm saying, what they did back in the day can't, you know, that can't be done. You know what I'm saying? We have to move it forward and come up with a whole new vocabulary and catalog of breaks. And you know what? It's funny because that terminology break, it really came from records. When the artist recorded, they would always give the drummer, like they would get a drummer song in those songs. You know what I'm saying? They always gave the drummers and percussionists, and that's what became a break. You had to wait until you got to that particular song of the breakdown. So the unique thing about this is these are, you know, what me and Bobby J made, they didn't come from no song. They just came from ideas that we just made up. And some of the things that we were inspired and we may have nicked, you know, swag jack an ideal, but that's the difference between like these modern breaks and what was done before. So that's what I wanted to add to that question. Hopefully you answered it.
Anything else, Bobby? Did you have to add anything to Daru's point?
Nah, man, I just, you know, I think that also speaks to the point I brought up before. It's like the perfections and the imperfections, you know, when he talks about, you know, guys like Dilla being inspired by, you know, drummers that came before him that would leave like quote unquote mistakes in songs. And that would be the thing you remembered about it. You know what I'm saying? Like just the little imperfections and idiosyncrasies, you know, that's what we're striving for. And, you know, the beautiful thing about this album and the beautiful thing about hip hop in general is like, you know, taking something and making it your own. And you know, we laid our own little foundation with this project. You know, we hope people enjoy it, but what we really hope happens is that it lives on through the work of other people. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to hear how some producers take what Daru did and flip it into their own drums. You know what I'm saying? I want to hear people take what we did and expand on it. You know, I feel like sampling and working with other people's music is so discouraged at this point, just because of the legal issues you run into.
Right.
But
right on those.
But you know, we're literally putting out an album saying like, do with this what you will. Like, we want to see what you can make happen with this project. You know what I mean? So this is just what we did is just step one. You know what I mean? We made a fun project, a fun album, if you want to call it that. But this is something that could live on through the work of other people. And I think that's what is really the cool thing about it. You know what I mean? And I can't put my finger on any other projects or works in the past couple of years that have really, you know, tried to do that or came out saying like, yo, like I actually want you to sample my work.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that's what we did this for. Like, really, it's a love letter to the DJs and the producers
yep.
and even the MCs out there that want to take, you know, the interludes and stuff that are just bare instrumentals and rhyme over them. And we're going to have an instrumental vinyl coming out soon too. So it's, it kind of hits all the different bases, you know what I mean? And as a hip hop fan, this is something that I wanted to see done for a long time. And, you know, I'm glad that I could be a part of it, you know?
Bobby J, I don't mean to interrupt you. It says that we have less than a minute, but there was a couple other things I wanted to touch on. Is it possible that you guys can log back into the same meeting because it ends? And then restart it? Yeah, because I'm going to restart it because it gives you a 40-minute limit or whatever. So
yeah, no problem.
Restart it, and then we'll resume.
No problem. I'm just gonna.
That give me time to retweet the. That we on.
Let me just run and grab a drink real quick, and I'll be right back.
All right. Yeah, the meeting it's gonna end on its own, so then we'll just restart it.
Okay, cool.